You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today's episode 219, Real Talk, Money, Mindset, and Action Taking with Emily King. If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to introducing you to our guest, Emily King. Emily is a money mindset and business mentor who's been helping women entrepreneurs since 2015 create financial freedom and normalize being extraordinary. With her MBA, NLP coaching certification, and a hint of woo, Emily has coached numerous clients from the proverbial basement to multi-millions, earning her the nickname, the Money Godmother. When she's not online coaching her incredible clients, Emily's magnetic energy is lighting up the stages like TEDx, where she shares her wisdom on creating financial freedom and living a rich woman life. Before we dive in and meet Emily, I have just a few quick things that I'd like to talk to you about. The first one is that if you have not already done so, I would love for you to join me for my free masterclass, Full Speed Ahead, How to Achieve Any Business Goal You Set. That is going down on December 1st. And if you cannot make it, we are offering a limited time replay, but only to those who sign up. So head on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. And for our next event that's coming up that I want you to know more about is our Business Blueprint Full Day Workshop. One full day with me, and I am going to walk you through step by step on how to plan your entire year in a day. You can join us on January 3rd for the Business Blueprint Full Day Workshop, where you'll plan your year in a day and go into 2022 with a clear, actionable plan for your business. If that sounds like something that you need, meaning you have it on your list to do your business plan, you either put it off, you don't do it, or maybe it doesn't ever get fully completed, then I would love for you to check out my full day workshop. And you can do that by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/business blueprint. That workshop is going down on January 3rd, but do not wait because there is going to be limited seating. I will shut registration off once we have hit maximum capacity. So head on over to amberdelagarza.com/business blueprint. And now let's meet our guest and get to the straight talk. Welcome, Emily, to Productivity Straight Talk. How are you doing today?
Very good, Amber. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to bring you to my listeners. We got to just chill and chat before this episode or this recording of this episode. We have known each other for quite a while. We were in a coaching program together, and I just think my listeners need to hear from you. So we heard about your official bio, but why don't you just share a little bit about yourself, maybe on the personal level, and then why are we talking money, mindset, and action taking today?
Yeah, so I've been working with women entrepreneurs since 2015, helping them with their money mindset. And why money mindset? Because if your business isn't making money, it ain't a business. It's a hobby and it's a charity and it needs to make money.
Yes, I agree. And I can't get more excited about that same topic. I love talking about that.
And money, there's no way around the fact that we need money to survive and live. And if it's going to be a part of our lives, why not let's build an amazing relationship with it, make lots of it, not feel guilty about it, and live our best lives ever. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people overcome their shame or guilt or their blocks around money so that they can have a really profitable business, love what they do, not feel like they need to like hustle and grind to make a buck, and just really be living their best life, as cliche as that sounds.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to work this hard and build something like our business is. We should be paid well for it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, go ahead. I was going to say, and yet there's so many of us out there that are sabotaging that success and blocking money from coming in. And yet that might be a primary reason why you started your business.
Yeah. And why I went with money in particular, like actually when I first started my business, I did like everything and anything. I'm like, oh, you want like help around stress at work at your 9 to 5? Perfect. Hit me up. Like I did like general life coaching. And then the more I got into it, I personally had some amazing experiences with money mindset and getting into a positive relationship with money, and my mind just being blown at this whole concept of money blocks and when we overcome them, what can happen and what we can manifest in our lives. And I just saw it as such like this gap where brilliant, intelligent, amazing, gifted people in this world have businesses that are not surviving because of money. And it just killed my soul to see businesses shut down or people like working another job to make ends meet. And I'm like, this is not okay. And I need to come in and help people around this. So that's why I shifted into, all right, we're going all money mindset, helping people build their income, doing what they love in a really aligned way and feel really good. So that's how I shifted back in. I made that shift in 2016 and never looked back.
All right. So let's start off with what some of the primary money blocks are, or maybe the most popular money blocks are that you experience with your clients. Mm-hmm. And then what I love is that we are going to also talk about the action taking that has to happen. It's just not thinking a new thought and all of a sudden money is going to come into your life. You really couple your strategy with get unblocked, money mindset, coupled with action. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I like to say mindset without action is BS.
Yes, say that one more time.
Yeah, mindset without action is BS.
Yes. Okay, so in my world around productivity and time management, generally people go all strategy and action. And I actually couple it with mindset, strategy, and action. And one of the things that I say is, I can teach you the tools. Your toolbox can be full. If you have mindset issues, you're not going to pick up the tool out of the toolbox. Yeah. Like, so to me, it's always a 1-2 punch. It's totally strategy, but really unlocking what is blocking you from, in my world, right? Sabotaging your time and your resources and your energy or thoughts around business. But for you, it's specifically around money. So can you share with us some common money mindset blocks that you experience with clients, and then we can kind of deep dive into those?
Yes. I think the classic one is work really hard to make good money. So how that, it shows up in so many ways, but just like, I know for myself, I really have to be careful of not overcomplicating programs or launches or what have you, and being like, I need to do 10 bajillion things and then I'm ready to make the money. It's really allowing money to be easy and not feeling guilty about it. Like actually, speaking of in your intro there, like how you and I met each other through a coaching program, that same coach, I remember she said to me one time, she said, how can you let making money feel so easy? It's uncomfortable. And that just like struck me as like, whoa, like, are we allowed to do that? Like, because our generation, assuming, most listeners are, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or what have you, like our parents or grandparents grew up in an era where it was like, you had to, work really hard to make your money. There was a very much trade for time for money.
Yeah. And badge of honor. I'm a hard worker.
Totally. And we're in an era now where, thank God, we have things like the internet and social media and this kind of stuff where we can really build leveraged income. And for so many people, it's uncomfortable to make really good money and let it be easy. So that's one of the biggest blocks that I see out there.
So I know that thought actually shows up in my world, because if they have that thought, they're overcomplicating everything. They're trying to squish everything into their schedule. They're trying to hold on to more than they need to. They're not delegating. And yet, look at this, full circle. It's a money mindset block that's showing up in how they're running their businesses as well.
Yes. And I even catch myself because the money mindset work is never done. I'm not sitting here as a money mindset coach saying, I got it all together. I'm good. I don't have any mindset blocks at all. No, it's just, it will show up at a new level for me. And I know for myself, the delegating is something that still to this day I have to work on, because it comes back to that. I got to do it all myself. And I have an assistant that's there to help me. And I really have to force myself to be like, Emily, pass that over to her, pass that over to her, pass that over to her, because it's just it's coming out of that mindset of there's not enough time and I got to do it myself and nobody can do it as good as me and all that kind of stuff. And really overcoming that mindset chatter to be like, nope, this gets to be easy. How can I allow this to be even easier today? And tapping into that.
Yes. Yeah. So a thought that happens often with my clients is that they think they can't afford the help. Right. So it's a money mindset, because when I ask, have you actually figured out how much it would cost to hire a part-time VA or a part-time office manager? The answer is generally no. They actually blocked themselves just with the thought of, I can't afford that. So what exactly can't you afford? What's that dollar amount? Because my head goes, tell me the dollar amount. Let's figure out how to make that to solve it. And they haven't even gotten that far. The block is just there. I don't have the money to outsource.
Yes. Your listeners, if they want to check out my website, I have a whole blog on the I can't afford it, objection. And I like to say that people saying I can't afford it becomes learned helplessness.
Tell me more.
Yeah, it becomes that crutch for us of I can't afford it. And then instantly when you say I can't afford it, you just completely shut off any opportunity for you to afford it. So to your point, it's a really practical thing is to sit down and say, what does this look like? Or how could I afford this, financially? And so many people don't even go that one. It's not even a huge step. Honestly, we could crunch it here. Okay, you want someone to do 2 hours for you a week at $15 or $20 or whatever it is? Okay, $40. Do you have $40 a week to pay them? Yes or no, right? So it's super, super simple. So people, really need to, just a practical tip is I like to say no curse words. And I don't mean the F-bomb or those kind of curse words. I mean the curse words that keep you in your box, I can't afford it. Or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or even in comparison, maybe somebody sees someone out there who does have a team or something like that. And they're like, oh, I'll never be that business that has the team for them. I'm always doing everything myself. So just being really conscious of what are those thoughts that really bring you, have your energy shrink, and just go on a 24-hour no cursing rule. Okay, catch when you're saying these things, And even practically speaking, I like to tell my clients, set 3 alarms in the day, 1 in the morning, midday, and then later in the evening, just to check in with have I had any limiting thoughts about my business or money or whatever it is that they're working on? And if so, just write it out just to acknowledge it of oh my God, I can't afford that. Or this person's so much better than me or whatever. There's not enough time. Just write it out just to acknowledge it and then move on. Just be okay, I'm just witnessing this as a thought. It doesn't need to be true or false. It's just a thought, and then move on and just do that for 24 hours. And it's really eye-opening, 1, to the pattern of thoughts that are coming up. And 2, once you get that awareness, then you can start to call BS on them and really ask, is this ultimately true for me?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had no idea we were in so much alignment. So I actually teach a mindset class inside my Leverage Lab program. And one of the strategies that I teach or that I share is that you need to call BS on the thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not always BS. Sometimes your little voice is telling you what action needs to be taken to then squash the voice. And this is where I wanted to talk to you about, because there's so many people out there that are like, okay, that thought doesn't serve you. Just stop having it. Okay. How's that ever worked for anyone? I have yet found anyone that actually works for. Yeah. And so what I like to say is like, is there any truth to that? And can you have that honest conversation? If there's truth to it, sometimes it says, oh, there's an action or inaction that I need to take in the business. There's something I can do to silence that voice. And that unlocks that resistance, whatever it is. Like in our example, we're talking about hiring or delegating. You know, let's just say the thought is, I can't give my assistant that. So is that true? Is that BS? Well, no, you really can't because you didn't stop to train them. Like, but until you called BS on it and said, well, why can't you hand your assistant this task? You wouldn't have been able to answer to say, because I haven't shown up to train her or him properly. Yeah. And now that can show up on a to-do list. That can show up on your calendar. Train assistant on X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But when we try to just say, no, I should just hand it off. That's a voice I don't want to have anymore. That doesn't really get us anywhere.
Yeah. And sometimes there's a little massaging in between the two. Like one of my favorite anchoring statements is, it's safe for me to fill in the blank, right? Like it's safe for me to delegate. And somebody might need to just say that over and over and over again to themselves to massage their way to the actually delegating or writing out, okay, I'm going to set up a session with my assistant for 2 hours on Monday where I'm going to show her how to do this task, and really just anchoring in, it's safe for me to delegate this. It's safe for me to delegate this. The safety statements are really key for me.
Yeah.
With my mindset.
I've actually never heard that. I love that strategy. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of other ways because underlyingly we wouldn't do something because it feels too risky or we're scared. So you're kind of unwiring that and just sitting with it. Like, can you be safe in whatever action you're afraid to take?
And this one might sound a bit like, what, Emily? Of course that would feel safe. But this is a big one for people. It's safe for me to make more money. Straight up, it's safe for me to make more money. Because here's a really eye-opening exercise that your listeners can even contemplate now if they're driving and listening to this, or I don't know, walk or what have you, is after they listen to this, ask yourself, what is unsafe about me making more money? And what is revealed there is going to show you what your money blocks are. And I'll give an example, because I remember before I hit the 6-figure mark in my business, I was curious. I'm like, why haven't I hit the 6 figures yet? What are the pros and what are the cons of this? And my cons list, i.e. the unsafe things, were really eye-opening of I'm going to be so burnt out. I'm going to have to manage a big team. My creativity, which for me is a big value of mine, being creative and inspired. It's oh my God, if I'm making 6 figures, I'm going to be so busy. I'm going to be creatively burnt out. That's not worth it to me. Something might be, for some people, what if my husband or partner is intimidated by the wealth that I have and they leave me? That sounds crazy to some people, but it's very real on a subconscious level.
So I'm going to just interject here because I was going to share as soon as you were going down this path, that is a money mindset that I had to work through. And at the end of the road, it wasn't true, but I believed that it would hurt my marriage.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how, and I couldn't really articulate it because at the end of the road, it was not true. My husband literally has no issue if I make more money, less money. He's my number one champion, but that's not the thought process that I was making decisions out of. That was something I was afraid to test. We would talk about it, but I really love my husband and I really love my marriage, and I'm not willing to unsafe, right? Am I not willing to test it? Because if I test it and I find out there is really an issue there, I have a big decision to make.
Yeah.
And so really just unwiring that, and then also having really honest conversations about what my fears were. But I couldn't have those conversations with him until I took the time to get really clear about what my underlying fears were.
Mm-hmm. And even just judge, that's so huge. And I really hope, I feel there's people who are going to be listening to this being oh my God, that's an underlying fear of mine. Because here's the thing is these money mindset blocks, if we knew about them, we'd work through them pretty, if you knew straight off the get-go, oh my God, is this going to intimidate my husband? You'd work on that and be no, let's go. But this is the thing about the money mindset stuff is they're so sneaky and subtle and they're just creeping underneath all the actions that we take. And we really got to take that time to sit with it and be what does feel unsafe about this next up level in my business and what have you, and really reveal the things, because it's just invaluable, the insight that you can get. And then in your case, when you realize like, wait a minute, like my husband probably will actually be super happy for me. And like maybe just chatting with him about the fear. It's so liberating.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, when I walked down that and had those conversations, it really was the BS. But if you would have asked me, I believed it. Like I believed, and that's what our beliefs do to us, or our thoughts can do to us, is they feel so real until proven that they're not. Yeah. And had I just kept that in a drawer and not really like opened it up and was willing to have those conversations, my business could be looking totally different right now. Yeah. And so when you say they're everywhere and they're like underneath, it's true until you decide to pull them out. And then what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, exactly. And even coming back to like the work hard to make good money, if people really value their family or their time, like their time freedom that they do have or what have you, is if they think, oh my God, like in my case, when I was looking at the 6-figure mark back then, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have no time freedom. I'm going to be so busy. I'm going to have no time for my family and whatnot. In my value system, my family and friends and my connection with them trumps money any day of the week. Mm-hmm. And so on a subconscious level, I was saying, I can't make more money because I'm not willing to sacrifice the time with my family and friends to have a 6-figure business. But it was only when I wrote it out and realized, well, wait a minute, like there's lots of 6-figure entrepreneurs out there who have plenty of time to spend with their families and really just like play it out. Like in my case, I was like, okay, what are what would a 6-figure business look like? Okay, if I charged X amount and had X many clients a week, that would be this many hours, and really mapping it out and be like, wait a minute, I would only have to work on, I'm just making this up, like say 10 hours a week, and I would be making 6 figures. I could go on vacations with my husband. Like when I really played it out, I was like, what? Like this is total BS. Like the quite opposite is actually true. So it only happens when we take that downtime to really sit with the mindset stuff and contemplate it and really build evidence against it.
Yes. Okay. I want to shift to another thought that I hear often. I bet you do too. And it's, I can't raise my rates, or I can't charge that much, or like some money and mindset around their worth of charging in their businesses. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about how that comes up. Give us some tips on how we can even realize that that's an issue in our business. Like how does that show up, and how do we work through something like that?
So I want to start by saying this, because I think in particular in the coaching world, there can be not the shaming, but like feeling like you're less than if you don't charge premium prices. Like, oh, you charge $2,000, I charge $5,000, and like that makes me a better coach or whatever. Like, oh, and if you charge $2,000 and not $4,000, whatever it might be, you're not claiming your worth. And I'm calling BS on that. Like, the thing is, like, you get to charge what you want and what feels good, but it's like, it comes down to what's your overall strategy. Because like there's coaches out there that I know of who charge $50 for memberships, and they give a ton in their membership. And somebody could go up to this coach and say, hey, you should really be charging $250 for this membership. But you know what? She has 5,000 members. So I think she's okay with what she's charging and claiming her worth and all that goodness. So I just want to start by saying to your audience is like, don't feel like you have to charge a certain price point in order to be worthy or, enough or what have you. Like, charge a price point that feels good to you, but also makes sense in the long-term business model. If you're going to have a membership for $50 a month, you can't really survive off of like 10 clients a month, Right. I'm assuming you can't survive off of $500 a month. So really take a step back and I think strategically look at what makes sense financially for me in what I want to charge. And then I will say this is that it's like encouragement, I guess, in a way for your audience, in the sense that raising your rates, this is going to sound bad initially, but raising your rates never feels easy initially until you get that first yes.
That doesn't sound bad to me. I think that's 100% true. It's like, you're like, so I wonder what's going to happen. Like, They said yes? Okay, that wasn't as hard as I thought.
Yes. So here's the thing is like, if raising your rates were easy, we would all do it like yesterday and be like, perfect, I just doubled my rates or whatever it is. So what I will say is if somebody there is listening who really wants to raise their rates and they're waiting for it to feel good, it will never feel good. And I say that with love and not to discourage them and be like, it's never going to feel good, so sit down and never raise your rates. I say that because I want your audience to put on their big boy or girl pants and be like, I need to raise my rates, whether like they have a wait list or they're just exhausted, or maybe their prices just don't feel good and they know that they need to add another $100 or whatever it might be. Is if you're sitting back saying, okay, I need to wait for it to feel good to raise my rates, you're going to be waiting a really long time. So really, it's just like biting that bullet and just saying like, I'm raising my rates, effectively December 1st or whatever they decide, and just stick to it and live and let yourself like be in the discomfort of it and that be okay. Because that's 92% of the time, let's say, that's what comes with raising your rates is the discomfort. Very rarely have I ever heard someone be like, yeah, I raised my rates and it was easy peasy. Like everybody said yes.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. So I'm gonna share some of my own experiences. So when you said that, what I was thinking was way back when I was in corporate, how uncomfortable it was every time I had to go in to ask for a raise. And I would be asking for chump change in comparison of the freedom that I have in my own business to raise my rates. And so if it's going to be uncomfortable, whether you work a 9 to 5 or in your business, I take in your business and that's a heck of a better raise that I'm giving myself for that same discomfort level.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. And true, it's not true that everyone feels uncomfortable asking for like a raise, but I would guess that the same person that's uncomfortable asking for a raise in corporate would be the same person that's uncomfortable asking their clients for more money. So we're just going to say the rewards are so much better and let's celebrate you're a business owner and you get to raise your rates.
Yeah. And I'm going to like normalize raising the rates in the sense that like, so like I don't think I've ever come across a client who hasn't felt like they need to justify raising their rates. So I really want to like normalize that. So people don't think like, okay, if I'm raising my rates from, $1,000 for my package to now $1,500, I need to give them 2 more extra sessions and I need to give them, this extra program and blah, blah, blah. Like you get to raise your rates and not have to add in anything. Like it's safe for you to raise your rates and keep the same package, know?
Yes.
Because I would say, 9 times out of 10 clients that I work with on raising their rates, they feel this guilt or like justification. And it's just like, no, your clients are good with it. And those that aren't, it's fine because there's this whole deselection process that we need to really come to terms with is that if you think of like your range of your clients from like your kind of bare minimum client and then like your top high client, when you raise your rates, that whole like range is going to increase. And so by nature of deselection, you're going to have clients that will no longer be with you anymore, that will say, no, that's too expensive or I can't afford it or what have you. And that's okay. It's just the nature of it. And so really normalizing the process of raising your rates helps it feel less uncomfortable and less like you've done something wrong or, everyone's going to run away and hate you now because you've raised your rates. Like, no, you might get a few clients that decline and that's okay. You're going to get clients that do say yes, and you're going to feel super happy and much more aligned with your rates and your business then.
Okay. So with that strategy, the fear of raising your rates ultimately is clients are going to say no to you. Like you're going to have less business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that I've hacked my own brain in raising my rates over the years is that I focused on my only job was to give incredibly good value, coach well, work with my clients so well that I get a wait list. And I'm talking over the last 10 years. My goal has always been get so booked, you are in more demand than you can provide. And then I celebrate that by increasing my rates because now if I have a wait list, if some say no, that feels safe to me.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the safety and the fear of, well, what if I raise my rates and then I don't have like these people waiting to work with me and then the next person tells me no and then the next person tells me no. Oh no, that's where your head goes, right? For me, whether it's a false sense of safety, what I focus on is not like, oh, I get a raise every 6 months or a year or every 3 months. It literally was each time I got my business to where I had more demand than capacity. I was like, I see a rate increase coming. And I very rarely have had anyone look at me and say, I'm not going to work with you because of price. Yeah. It may be for other reasons or timing, or I'm not the perfect fit for them. But when we think of how much money mindset really has its fingers in all areas of our business, I rarely had someone say, sorry, you're charging too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I was saying to you before, like we started this podcasting, is when I actually doubled my rate the last time, it felt so good and so aligned. I actually had more clients than ever before coming to me and saying yes. And I actually got less price objections than ever before, which is kind of like funny. It's kind of backwards, right?
Way backwards than what we would think. Yeah.
I think another thing, so I just want to quickly say this to acknowledge it, is some people think I can't raise my rates because then I'll be like the highest, in comparison if somebody's like, I don't know, a hairdresser or what have you. Mm-hmm. I've seen that a lot with people who like have hourly services or like nail technicians or what have you. And I can get that. Or like makeup artists, I get that going from $80 an hour to, $120 for a makeup application or whatever might seem like, oh my God, I'm going to price myself out of the market. But like every single client I've worked with that has done that has seen such a good return where they get the most amazing clients, and then making that raise really sets them apart as like the makeup artist, just say, to go to. It's like, oh my God, like she is the best. And like she charges that premium, and like, it's kind of like you get what you pay for type thing. So Don't be afraid of like pricing yourself out of the market because it can be just a limiting thought that's holding you back.
Absolutely. The last thing I'll say about that too is you could raise your rates. And if the world came to an end as we think it is, that's why we're not going to raise our rates. Like nobody ever said yes to you again to work with you. Yeah. You could choose a different price down the road.
Yeah. Right? Like you can go back to a different rate or like change something up. Yeah.
Totally. Now, I only say that because we have to laugh about what our brains say is that no one else is ever going to work with me if I raise it to that rate. Well, that's not going to happen, but let's just say it does.
Yes.
Emily and I are giving you permission to find a different rate that works for you.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I have one more burning example that I see. And this is the business makes incredible money, great revenue, and little to nothing goes to the business owner. So we're talking like owner pay, they're working for free or seriously minimum wage. Mm-hmm. When they're their number one employee in the business, they're usually the person with all the skill set and the talent. This is a money block issue. I'm assuming you see frequently.
Totally. I talked to a business owner last year who was doing over $1 million in revenue and quite profitable. It's not like she was like burning through all that money and had not taken a penny from her business. And I have worked with clients who are doing hundreds of thousands and still not taking a penny. And it comes down to this whole notion of if I'm doing what I love, I should be doing it for free, which is like ludicrous to me, at least. I'm like, what? Come on. Like, because it's, once again, it's this guilt of it has to be hard. Right. And if they're doing something that they love so much and people are just raving over it and like they're making so much money, then there's this guilt of, well, I can't take money from the business because like this feels so good. And like, I'm like, no, so people who are in that position, once again, come back to the safe. It's safe for me to take a salary. It's safe for me to take an income. It's safe for me to make money doing something that I love. I've talked to many business owners who have very profitable businesses who are still working 9 to 5, even though they don't need to. If they really planned it out and strategized it, they could leave their 9 to 5 like the next week if they wanted to. But yeah, it just doesn't feel safe, or they have this feeling like it's too good to be true. like my business is doing really well. Something's got to give.
Right.
So if I start taking money from this, then it's going to get real too good. And, my business is going to implode. And next thing you know, I'm going to be like bankrupt and looking for a 9-to-5 tomorrow. Right. So they just go to this negative spiral. So to that, I say, take like something, find, like, I like to say stretch, don't splatter. So I'm not saying like, sign yourself up for a $200,000 salary tomorrow, but what's your stretch? Is it, okay, taking $1,000 a week from, and I don't even like saying the word taking because that sounds bad, but just giving yourself $1,000 a week salary from the business or whatever it might be. Find that stretch for yourself and really lean into, I need to replenish myself, financially. And as I do so, it allows me to grow the business even more, because if they're struggling, if they're working another that's 40 hours a week in the 9-to-5, that could be given back to their passion, to their business, that could have it go from $1 million to $3 million. Yeah. And then have that much more impact, maybe more employees that they're giving back to, maybe having more clients that they're serving. Like, there's such a ripple effect of when they actually pay themselves, how much more impact it can make in the world when they do so.
Absolutely. So in my experience and perspective, when I work with clients that aren't taking money or enough money out of the business, it's usually contributing to burnout. So even if they love what they do, like, it's just this frustration of like, why can't I live off the thing that I'm pouring my life and soul and time and all of it into? Yeah. And then the other thing is that as business owners, I really believe that our support system is so important about how we show up in our business or how we are able to show up. And I say support like the ones that we love. So if you were able to bring more home to the home fund, right, through your business, would you find more support from your spouse? And in a lot of cases, that's true. And not that support should be given or not, but if you're able to contribute to the household, it'll decrease stress on the home side. You're not taking that stress into the business, and you can really focus on the business.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
like this cycle, yeah.
total cycle. And so money can do really good things for us. And that's what I like to focus on too, is that, when I make good money from my business, I get to do good things. Whatever that is, like what I'm passionate about, what I believe in, or my family, or experiences with my family. And then also just buying more leverage. So one of the things that I have done, I don't currently have this role, but for years I did, was a personal home assistant. So the money that I took home allowed me to not spend my weekends doing laundry and, picking up groceries and meal prepping. And for me, that money coming out of the business into my personal life to pay for that allowed me to show up better and more present in my business, 100% with my family, right? Because I'm not like, there's so many things that need to still be done outside of business. So I throw that out there to say, I've experimented with a lot of things, and money can really do a lot of good, and you deserve it. Like Emily and I are going to give us the little pep talk here, is that the work needs to be that you can say, I deserve it too. Yes. And the action that you're not taking in your business, or that you can take, I believe will come from that. Like, if you think you deserve it, you're going to take action so the business can afford to pay you.
Yes. I want to be like, preach, Amber. Yes.
Yeah. For me, my turning point was reading a book called Profit First. And that was many, many years ago. And for me, that was like a big light bulb moment. And the belief that I had up until then, and I just want to give variations because boy, these thoughts can have so many variations. My thought was, I really want my business to be successful. It needs all the money invested back into it. Right? Yeah. That was the thought. And then when I read Profit First and just thought of it the way that I'm sharing with you, is like, no, actually, I need to be invested in because I'm quite important in the business. So what does that look like? That was that shift when I read that book, and I never went back. I was like, absolutely. All decisions about what expenses, who gets hired, what are we selling, what are we not selling, needs to be able to be filtered through, and I deserve X, Y, and Z income.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think there's even just this, like, this is something that I see. It's not like the most prevalent money block I see, but even just the notion of like, I can make my same salary from my business. Like I can make my same 9-to-5 salary out of my business. Like that just blows people's minds. They just go into business just with, once again, it's all unconscious stuff. Like this unconscious belief of like, I can't possibly match my income from a 9-to-5. So they just keep, going along in their business being like, well, I can't make a salary in my business. And it's like, I remember I had a client a couple of years ago that I worked with. And it really just came down to one is just being like, that if we just tweaked a few things, you could leave your 9-to-5 job. And she was just like, what? like
it wasn't even on the radar.
Wasn't even on the radar. It was just because it was just the default. My business is like a little side, cute little business. Oh, that's another thing. Side note, people need to stop calling their businesses side businesses. That's a block in and of itself. From day one of starting my business, it was a business. It was never a side business because I never wanted to put it in this little small box of this little cute thing I was doing. Right. No, it was a business. So I digress. But yeah, my client, I was like, if we just, increase your sales of XYZ, you'll only need to work, I forget what it was, but it was like a fraction. It was like she only needed to work like 15 hours in her business to match her salary of her 40-hour-a-week job. And it wasn't like a far stretch at all. And that just like blew her mind. And it was so obvious, but it's kind of like when you're looking for something and it's in your hand. Like, you ever have that where you're like, where's my phone? Or like, where's my pen? And then you're like, 2 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, it is in my hand.
Yes, right. And you looked in your hand and it wasn't there, but it was there.
Yeah. And it's like, it was like one of those moments where it's so obvious to me, like looking on the outside, be like, this is possible for you. And then, so I remember we worked together for a 30-day package in October. And by December of that same year, she left her 9-to-5. And by January, the following month, she wrote me to say that she was just shy of hitting her first 10K month in her business. And so, I mean, that's a really quick turnaround from October working like, I think it was minimum wage. I think she made $1 more than minimum wage job in October to now just shy of hitting a 10K month less than 4 months later.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I actually want to pull out a couple nuggets there. One, that is the power of looking at the strategy and the action along with the mindset. So had you just said, hey, just manifest you're making the same amount of money as you do in your current job. Like there has to be like a plan. Like we've got a plan when we jump off this bridge. Okay, that's good. Yeah. And then 2 is what you just described as the power of coaching. We can't see what's in our hands. And we actually met in a coaching program, meaning I have a coach, you have a coach in our businesses, because that's the power. We cannot usually see what's right in front of us. And I often think of it as we can't see what's right in front of us because there's so much story. Like it's literally all those thoughts and those beliefs and those stories that someone needs to come alongside you and say, did you look at it from this angle or from this perspective? That's what I love about what I do for my clients. It sounds like exactly what you do, because it doesn't need to be difficult. It just needs to be an invitation to see the same thing differently. Yeah,
it's like half the time coaching is so simple.
I agree with that, because that's where they can actually take action. Like if we made things difficult, how is that beneficial to anyone?
Yeah. And like, that's not like put us down in what we do, but really like some of the best coaching out there is the most simplest like advice of just like, hey, this one little tweak or this one little shift. And I know me personally, like I'm working with a mentor now, and there was something recently where like, it was the simplest little thing that just like blew my mind and just like gave me full permission in my business to like have this like sigh of relief. And it was like the simplest thing. And that's what I love about coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And the value is what result you get from that simplicity of a perspective shift. And yeah. I mean, complicating coaching, it really just, I think, creates distance from the result. Like it just like, you know, if you have a coach that's throwing obstacles in front of you and like jump, turn, do this, it's kind of that mindset of like, it has to be difficult to get the result, or it doesn't. It could be really simple.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a great great place to kind of close out and end today is like, it can be simple.
Yeah.
Now, thank you so much for, just having this really great conversation about money and how it entwines in our businesses and our strategy and how we show up in our businesses. I would love to give my listeners an opportunity to stay connected with you. And I think you have something for them. So if you can tell them a little bit about where to find you and where to get the freebie.
Yeah, I have a lovely freebie for your audience. So meditation is a huge aspect of my business, and affirmations. So what I did was I created a bundle of money mindset manifesting meditations that I put together. So if they go to my website, emilyking.ca, right smack dab on the homepage, they can click there to download the meditations. They're so good. And there's a variety of them there. I cannot recommend them enough. Like, go download them, there's a 5-minute one there. Go have a listen in your car, on your walk, before you go to bed, and you will love it.
Awesome. Okay. And how about social media? Where do you like to hang out?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, which is Emily King Co, C-O as in coach, or on Facebook, same handle, Emily King Co. And I love hearing from people. I love people getting in my inbox and DMing me, and it's actually me responding. It's not some robot or an assistant. So it'll be me responding. So reach out to me there. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was, or anything at all money mindset related you want to share with me. And I'm happy to help you and respond and meet your audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for serving our audience today and sharing your wisdom and your insights and how you can help us with money mindset.
Thank you.
I loved this conversation with Emily. As soon as I got done with this interview, I was like, I cannot wait to bring this episode to you, the listeners of Productivity Straight Talk. We just organically were able to bring up so many real examples. And what I loved is that this is one of those things that you may have this issue or this challenge of having money mindset and not ever been able to put your finger on it or identify it. And with all the examples that Emily and I were able to share, I hope that something hit home for you and maybe it unlocked a aha, somewhere in which you were like, oh my gosh, I do that. I sabotage myself in that way. Or maybe you knew you were sabotaging yourself, but you didn't know why. You didn't know what was the thought that was creating that action or inaction. Really, really good stuff today. And with every episode of Productivity Straight Talk, I need you to know I've absolutely loved you tuning in to today's episode. And I sure hope you found today's episode to be valuable. But we don't need just more information. We don't need to just listen to another podcast. With every episode that I close out with, I want to challenge you to take action. What did you hear today from my conversation with Emily that you can go take action on in your business and in your day? What can you implement that will really make the change that you're looking for? No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. Okay, so before we wrap up today, one last reminder, if you haven't joined me for Full Speed Ahead, head on over to amberdelagarza.com/full speed ahead. This is my free masterclass. If you want to join me for a hands-on workshop to plan your year in a day, then you do not want to miss joining me for my full day business blueprint workshop. You will leave the workshop with an action plan in hand. You will hit the ground running in 2022 with the plan that you crave to have. All right, so you can learn more and sign up by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/business blueprint. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.